Good evening, folks. As you can see from the lighting, we are actually filming with just a little ring light and the room lights, so I apologize, it's kind of crappy, but I wanted to have a video ready for this weekend, and the only way to do it was to shoot this evening. Might even still not be ready. I know I'm going to have to do some on-computer work and get that as part of this. But I discovered something very interesting, and when I originally bought this little toy, let's see if I can, there we go, Micro Dark, didn't expect to make a video. They're not new, not anything special in terms of like revolutionizing home play or anything like that. They're well known, popular little amps, popular for home play, obviously. 20 watts of solid state with a tube preamp. And most importantly for a lot of us, they've got send and receive of X loop, which, let's face it, a lot of these little units don't have. It's kind of annoying. This one's got it. But something I didn't think of when I was originally looking at it, and even after I bought it, I thought of it on the way home, oddly enough. If I thought about it while I was there, I could have bought the cables to make it more practical before I got home and had to order them. You can run the FX send line out to your audio interface. Most of these audio interface related softwares, BiosFX, Guitar Rig, anything like that, has the ability to pick and choose which pieces are live. You know, is your preamp alive? Is your effects loop live? What parts of the chain are involved? And you can just turn off the tone portion and the preamp portion, run this in, run your cab emulation and your effects loop on the system, and lo and behold, you have your amp's tone, not just the preamp, obviously, going through your computer, out through the effects loop in the software, whatever amp, power amp you picked, whatever cab emulation you pick, and out to your either recording or your speakers. Now, sure, you can run the headphone jack. I mean, it's got an emulated headphone jack. This side, sorry, emulated headphone jack which does cab sim, and I tried that out. I got a cord that lets me run that straight into my speakers. Honestly, you cranked it up, it started to crackle a little tiny bit. I'm not sure how much of that was the cheaper cord and my speakers not agreeing with how I was doing it, and how much of that was the headphone jacks are made for headphones, not as a line out to a set of speakers, and you're not using them the way they were designed to be used. Not sure, don't care, because the send unit out to the audio interface means that I've got all my pedals, all my pedal chains, all my options, every different cab I've got in there available. I can mess with the power amp section if I want. Certainly the power amp in here is nothing to talk crazy about it. It's a basic solid state power amp. The gain is all preamp. So if I wanted a lot of gain in the power amp, I could do that. I could do whatever I want now that it goes directly into the computer. And I gotta say, I've used a couple emulations of this. They don't come close. They really don't. The tone, particularly as you let it sustain, none of the digital amps seem to come close. It's one of the areas where tubes are tubes. No matter how you emulate it, there's always something there, and I could tell. All the emulations I had, and I mean there were ones that I liked better than others, and even some of the ones of higher end amps, you could tell this was live through an amp, through a tube amp, before it hit the computer. There was a feel to it that the closest I've heard is honestly the Katana 100. The Katana 100, as long as you're good with how it sounds, does that sound really well. but obviously it's limited in what it does. It's not a modeling amp, it's actually a solid state amp with a couple different modes. But this gives me all the flexibility of bias with all the beauty of a tube amp. I'm loving it. I really, it made my day when I heard that play through the first time. And I'm really happy with it. I figured I would pass that along. It's something that hadn't even occurred to me before this. I always kind of used the audio interface setup standalone. There it was. Gotta say, it works awesome. It is truly phenomenal how good it sounds. And which leads to part two. This little thing you're seeing down here in the corner. I was running the reverb on the audio interface through Bias FX, but I wanted to have distortion beforehand. I wanted to have the option of a separate distortion pedal, and certainly I plan to do like a compressor pedal, and this isn't super noisy as a preamp, but I wanted to at least have the option of putting a noise gate in, particularly if I'm running it on its own later, where I don't have the noise gate in the software. I wanted to have something available. But that got me thinking, okay, what am I going to put in front of it? Because the distortion on here, it works very well. If you crank up the gain on the Micro Dark, you can certainly do gain-based distortion, and it sounds very orangey, which is why I like this unit. That's why I went with this instead of one of the other options out there. Is I really like that orange sound. That orange tone is something I enjoy. And if I was going to have a first small, relatively inexpensive amp, that's what I wanted. But I don't always want that distortion. I sometimes want something more serious. So I've always been a fan since I started listening to their podcast and watching their videos and hearing about how they work and the philosophy behind the company. I've always kind of been interested in Wampler pedals. But to be honest, a lot of their product line isn't me. They're not things that I was terribly enthused with in terms of the sound. I gotta say, Brian Wampler has great sound, but a lot of what he likes, and it's his company, it's a small company, he's making what he likes, wasn't what I wanted. And there are a few pedals that's still on my list, but I got one of them. And let's see if we can get that to be a nice view. That is, won't be facing the right direction, but that is a Wampler Sovereign. And what it is a very dynamic distortion pedal, meaning you can go from almost just using it like a boost, a very mild boost, very mild overdrive kind of pedal, through some metal. I mean, it doesn't really do just screaming metal, but you can probably make that happen. He does a great demo of it on his YouTube channel, so I'm not gonna run through that. I'm not gonna go play a whole bunch of stuff, but it's got, yeah. So you've got a basic gain mode, which is not doing a whole lot of heavy boosting of the gain. You're adding distortion, but the actual gain level is still modest. Or boost. Wow. I mean, it is dramatic. Huge tone shaping ability, good volume range, has a, now they're calling it vintage versus modern on the controls for the switch, the second switch there. It's really the old bright switch. Certain sounds you want more treble, some you want less. It lets you do that independent of the actual tone shaping. And it sounds distinctly different, there's no question. It sounds awesome. If you're not looking for a pure fuzz or a real sharp sound, or if you're just looking for just a raw distortion, it really sounds awesome. I love it. I heard his demo of it and was sold already. Went into the store, and so this was my major mistake the other night was I knew I was buying this. I plugged in one of these through it and went to the YouTube video, found a sound I had liked, set that, and just hit a chord. Oh wow, it sounded glorious, and there went $200. I had planned to wait on pedals. I figured I would, enjoy the tones you can get direct with this. It does have a pretty good range if you know what you're doing with it. But one of the things I knew I wanted was just a straight distortion separate from the gain on here. I didn't want to just always have to crank up the gain and use that sound. And with the pedal, you can have quiet with distortion. You can really juggle the details. Or, and here's one of the other things I like about it, I can set the gain for a little bit of growl here. Just starting to get there, right? And set this to boost it a little more and add just that extra edge. Not full-on distortion from the pedal, just take the whole thing up a notch, just like you would do with a regular overdrive pedal or a regular boost pedal, but where I can control the tone much more completely than I could with just a boost or overdrive pedal. It's great. It is. I'm probably going to be a cheapskate on the rest of my pedals. I know I'm going to buy at least one Wampler, but for some of the others, I'm probably going relatively cheap. And worth every penny. If you haven't tried one of these out, go to the store, try one out. You are not going to be unhappy. It might not be the right pedal for you, certainly, but it is worth a try. It really does sound better than he makes it sound in the videos. So, that's it. So have a nice day, have a great night, keep playing, and have fun, folks.